Over-the-counter naloxone, or Narcan, is being shipped out to pharmacies nationwide. The life-saving nasal spray quickly reverses the effects of opioid overdoses, including fentanyl. Dr. Reena Mehta joins us now to explain why, in her opinion, everybody should think about having this in their first aid kit. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We'll get to that in a minute, but this is certainly a reflection of the seriousness of the problem that the FDA has taken this step and allowed it to be used.
Exactly.
Over the counter.
Exactly. So, I mean, as we all have heard, the opioid crisis, we have had an increased number of deaths, over 20% increase in the last 2 years from opioid-related deaths. So if there is a life-saving way to fix this problem, to treat patients who could theoretically die from overdose, this is what we finally have available.
Narcan is, as we mentioned, the nasal spray. The idea here is essentially to buy time for somebody who's having an episode, and then you get to the hospital?
It's an antidote. So the way it works is it binds the same opioid receptors in the brain, reversing the overdose. But again, you may need a second dose. It is a nasal spray, so it may not be as effective as getting an injection. So essentially, if you see somebody having an overdose or you're suspecting an overdose, it is a safe and effective way to try to treat it. You'd use a nasal spray, and then within 20 to 30 minutes, you seek medical attention in case you need further treatment.
You obviously think this will make a difference.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a life-saving strategy for people who don't even know if they're having an overdose. It's safe, it's effective, it could be widely available. It's now available over the counter in your retail pharmacy, so CVS, Walgreens. It should really be in first aid kits. We should think about having it in schools, airplanes. I mean, think of it like an EpiPen or an AED where you could save someone's life from this.
Well, and that was my next question, actually, is who should put this in their first aid kit? I mean, obviously, if you know someone who's got an addiction problem.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that all families should really even just think about having. I mean, you just never know when you're having a party and something happens. You should just have it available as if you have, you know, your Advil and your Tylenol. I mean, it's something that will hopefully become readily available and people will consider, you know, getting access to.
More and more companies, especially large companies, are putting a first aid kit, you know, somewhere, or sometimes multiple first aid kits. And your suggestion is that the human resource manager wants to say, hey, we need this too?
Exactly. I mean, we're shifting so that we're starting to think about other strategies to save lives. You know, there's always a question about cost. And so this just came out this week over the counter in the nasal spray form. And so when you buy it at CVS or Walgreens, it's 2 nasal sprays that will come together for about $45. So, you know, it's not a cheap product to get. And so now the next step is trying to figure out more affordable ways to get it because it doesn't require a prescription. And so anybody can go over the counter and buy this nasal spray to then have, but of course you have to think about cost.
And people can still get the injection, which was the more traditional way.
The traditional way and the cheaper way, but if you wanted to get the injection form, it still requires a prescription.
Fascinating. All right, Dr. Reena Mehta, thanks for your time.
Great, thank you so much for having me.